from the Sun magazine, which is a literary magazine, and they have a section inside for people to write in with their own personal true stories. This one was written by Greg Goodman. We prisoners say, man, if they let me go right now, I'd walk home barefoot and butt naked. I once knew a man here whose 70-year-old parents told him during a visit that it was precisely 143.5 miles from their home to the penitentiary. I had never seen this man on the track before, but after his folks' visit, he started walking the pebbled trail that surrounds the recreation yard. I watched him as he passed the tower, the concrete bleachers, the porta-john, and the horseshoe pit. He tracked his progress on a tattered yellow piece of paper. 3 laps equals 1 mile. After several weeks of this, one day he crumpled, dissolved really, onto the path, snot-nosed and blubbering. I made it, he said. I made it home. Please join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. It has been a week. As we think over this week, we think first of those moments when we were not all we would like to be. The moments when we reacted poorly or let someone down or did not live up to our responsibilities well. We think next of the moments when we lived fully into our values and integrity, when we did a random act of kindness, made it through a hard day, responded to a difficult situation with integrity, or smiled at a stranger. We think about those people that are around us, our community. We think about the people in this church and enfold them in peace. We think about the people in this town and in this city and enfold them in peace. Think about the people in this country, about those who have suffered sexual assault and violence, and those who are so caught up in the systems of oppression that they cannot recognize these people, and we enfold them in peace. We think about those in detention centers and prisons, and those who put them there, and we enfold them in peace. We think about the world, about this beautiful blue boat home, with all of its trials and love, and we enfold it in peace. We think about ourselves, beautiful, perfectly imperfect selves, and we enfold ourselves in peace. We hold in our thoughts and prayers all of those in our community who are experiencing joys and sorrows. We especially lift up this past week Ed and Leslie Vaubrand, who celebrated their 3rd wedding anniversary. They were married here in 2015, and they are so joyful in their marriage in this community. We are happy that last week, Anne Thurman, who painted the mural in Ford's Room 4, visited us. She caught up with old friends and shared treasured memories over lunch. We are thinking and holding in our hearts Ophelia Lockman. She was a much-loved member of this church for many years and died recently at the age of 99. She was a warm, intelligent person with a wonderful sense of humor, and she will be missed. Vicki Foxworth's mother, Esther, died Sunday last week. We lift her and her husband, Jeff, and their daughter, Annie Jewel, up in our thoughts. We hold all of these joys and sorrows in our hearts as we enter a time of silence. We're gonna keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Keep on walking forward. Never turning back. Never turning back. In 1986, a young man was walking forward through the hallways of his alma mater. He was on his way to class, a class that he did not want to go to. As he was headed to class, he saw on a bulletin board a poster. The poster was for the Great Peace March for Global Nuclear Disarmament. Anyone heard of it? Yeah. I figured some people in this church might have. Yeah, it was a march from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. to try and end the Cold War, to try to take nuclear weapons out of the hands of leaders who had the potential to literally destroy the entire world. My dad decided to join it. He flew out to Los Angeles to the big official march with lots of money and lots of reporters and lots of trucks and lots of people, not all of whom were actually marching. There were plenty of bikes and wheelchairs and cars that traveled with the march. But Dad was actually marching, and the march went through California and into Nevada, and there the organizer came to them. The organizer said, "Well, that's it, we're out of money. Time to go home. We're bankrupt. The end. Go back to your regularly scheduled program and your normal lives." Out of the 1,000 people who were there, about 600 left. But about 400 stayed. And they knew that if they were going to continue on their way and actually make it to Washington, D.C., they were going to have to band together. They were going to have to be a community. And so the people started doing the things that they could do. The lawyers looked at permits and making sure that all the paperwork was in order. The cooks started cooking. The medical people started taking care of people. And my dad was a drummer, so he joined the band. The band went ahead of the march into cities to provide a public face that people could recognize, that people could relate to, that served as a kind of bridging point between all these weirdos walking across the country and everyone else in the world. They did make it to Washington, D.C. Not only did they make it to Washington, D.C., but by the time they got there, their numbers had swelled. And they marched into the Capitol with thousands, rather than just 400, because they had their eyes and their mind set on the future. They believed so deeply that what they were marching for was part of them and mattered to them, that they were willing to give up whatever their regularly scheduled lives and programs were to make it to the Capitol. Fast forward a lot of years, and my family and I are living in rural Ohio. And when I say rural Ohio, I mean very, 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 very rural Ohio. I mean that pretty much everyone else around us was extremely conservative. And as you might have guessed, our family was a little more liberal, just a tad. And as I approached adolescence, I realized that this was going to be a barrier. That being so different politically was keeping me from being the popular person that I so longed to be. And so I decided to do something about it in my 12-year-old wisdom. I know this is not me as at 12, but actual pictures of 12-year-old me don't look all that different, so just pretend for me. So I decided to assimilate. I was going to join with my conservative friends. I was going to say the right things and do the right things and look the right way so that I could be just like them. If any of you have ever done this, you can guess approximately how well it went. But I was determined to try. And so one day, when I was getting ready to leave school, and this lovely boy, whose parents owned a veal farm, who was very popular, started talking to me, I was ready to seize my moment. I could do it. It was going to be great. I was going to say the right stuff. I was going to do the right thing. I was going to behave in the right way. And then I was going to get to join the popular kids. And so I turned around as I walked down the hallway to be better able to speak to him. And I put forth my glorious, brilliant line of sameness with him and promptly ran into a water fountain. It turned me right around. I hit it so hard so that I was walking forward again. And I walked out of school that day wishing and begging that the floor would just open up and swallow me inside of it. But I think I got off pretty easily now, because I was focusing on something that was not myself. I wasn't doing what my dad did. My dad was so certain about who he was and where that needed to lead him that he was willing to walk from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C. I was not focusing on the right things. The people on the march, they were focusing on the right things, and so they continued even after they got to D.C. The whole time they were walking across the country, people would come up to them and say, you know, you can't go do that in Russia. So they decided to go do it in Russia. And the band traveled to Cleveland, Ohio, where many of them had been born and raised, to play a concert there on Valentine's Day. And at that concert, there was a young woman there. This young woman had joined the march for about 4 days, but had not been able to do the whole thing because she had a young one. This toddler, spoiler alert, he's my brother, this toddler ran up to the drummer, completely fascinated with what he was doing. And he ran up so many times that eventually my dad just picked him up and put him on his lap and let him play with him for a song. Of course, after the song, my dad had to give my brother back to my mom. And the rest, as they say, is something like history. Aren't they adorable? Except for that there was a moment, my dad says, where he was holding the receiver in his hand, not the phone, because, you know, cords. He was holding the receiver in his hand, and he had 2 different women that he could call. And he knew that if he called one of them, it would be fun and temporary, without much responsibility. And he knew that if he called the other, it would be much more responsibility and commitment. And so he looked inside of himself and asked where he was at that point in life. Asked after this march, after he'd done this great thing, based on his past, where did he want to go with his future? And he called my mom. Now, my mom came with a past. Don't we all come with a past? There was a man who had helped her have this son. And things with that man were not so great. And when we're thinking about pasts like that, pasts that perhaps we don't want to look at, there are a few options for how to deal with them. You can focus on them and how much they've impacted you. You can let resentment and fear and anger completely suck you in to that situation, so that instead of walking forward through life, you're moving backwards, still facing what happened. You can also ignore it. Doesn't really matter, not that big a deal. It was a long time ago, who cares anymore? Except for that, at least for my mom, there was an actual child to take care of from that past. And whether or not we actually have children, because I don't actually have children, but I do have pasts. And both children and stuff from our past, if ignored, grow but grow unhealthily. If you ignore children, they grow unhealthily. If you ignore your stuff, it grows unhealthily until it takes over everything. We all have a past like this. Our country has a past like this. We have seen in the news this week how having a past and not dealing with the children from it can have a huge impact. How things grow and grow and grow until they've taken over. Fortunately, that's not what my mom did. My mom recognized that she had a child. And so she picked that child up. And she really looked at what was going on. She memorized the face and the hands and the hair and the personality of this thing that she needed to grow around. And once she had done that, once you pick up those things from your past, then you can carry them forward with you. And actually, they can point the direction that you need to go, like a drum set. They can tell you where your future is going to lie. So, why me? Why us? Why now? Because when I was interviewing with different congregations to decide where to go as an intern, I knew that a good congregation was going to make me look at my children, was going to make me pick them up and carry them forward. And I wanted some place that was going to tell me and work with me on how to do that. And so in the interview, what I heard people saying is that this congregation has some children. That this congregation has a past. That there is some stuff that has happened here. But that we know that. That we know there's some children running around. And that we have started to pick them up. That we have started to memorize their face. That we know we have farther to go, but that we're going to carry them with us because we know that they can help lead us to the future. And so I heard that in the interview, and I said, oh, look, we're the same. We're the same. We've all got stuff. We've all got a past. And these people are doing something about it. And in today's world, that matters. Being willing and able to know that you have stuff and to look at that stuff honestly. To know that we all have a past and to know that we can join together in that past to go somewhere even better. To go to where we are called to be based on where we have been. Man, does the world need that. Man, does our country need that. Man, do we need that. Do we need a place where we can be carried and loved and filled with joy? And so I'm looking forward to doing that with you. I'm looking forward to us moving forward together. And that looks like a lot of different things. I'm looking forward to getting coffee with you. I'm looking forward to gazing into your eyes. I'm looking forward to hearing about your children. Your literal children, if you have them, and also your children from your past. Personal ones, congregational ones. I'm looking forward to digging through it. Oh, that's awkward. Do me a favor and just hit enter on the computer. Keep it. There we go. So that we can become this. So that we can be a real community that makes a difference to each other and in this larger world, because the world is thirsting for it. And we are thirsting for it. And so it matters. And I invite you all together to keep on walking forward. To keep on walking forward. Keep on walking.